Anti-Semitism, it has been increasing, but it's been here.
We have seen an alarming rise in reported anti-Semitic incidents at schools and on college campuses.
The Biden administration has said there's been an alarming uptick in anti-Semitism across college campuses since Hamas's October 7th attack. To learn more about what it's been like as a Jewish student on campus, I sat down with Sabrina Soffer.
The Jewish people, Arab, Druze, Muslim, Christian, we are family.
All right, Sabrina, can you start by telling us what school you go to and your year and what you study as well?
Yeah, so I go to George Washington University. I'm a junior, and I'm doing a double major in philosophy and public affairs and Judaic studies.
The White House has recently reported a rise in anti-Semitism, specifically on college campuses. I know we've also seen instances at GW specifically. What has your experience been since the October 7th attack?
The emotional burden of having family in Israel, that took a toll on me. I mean, for 2 weeks, I was barely eating, barely sleeping. It was a very difficult time just to process everything that happened. Also, just, the receiving videos from my family of rockets being fired and I guess being dispersing over their homes. And then my friends in the IDF, and just having all of this, it's really weighed me down a lot. I fell behind in school and such, but it was a very sad time. And there was this kind of collective grieving among the Jewish community. In a way, it was a very tragic time, but it was one of solidarity, and it brought us together. For example, just after October 7th happened, students and I from DC, we got together and we organized 2 rallies, one for the DC community at the Lincoln Memorial, and then the next day we did one at GW. It was really there's strength among us, and we're not willing to let that down. So that was something that was beautiful about it. But of course, with everything that continued happening, anti-Semitism, it has been increasing, but it's been here. So this is kind of all of it coming out because of an extreme situation. And for example, we had a Torah, like a small Siddur, a small Torah, vandalized a couple of years ago. There was an issue last year where posters were wheat pasted near our Hillel building that said Zionists F off, settlers F off. And then there was a protest calling for Intifada. They do those a lot, the SJP. So this was all last year, and I've had my own share of experiences with that group. But now, because of the extremity of the situation, everything is coming out, and we see these protests coming out. And this isn't just GW, this is around the country. These SJP groups have been doing this for a long time, but now they have come out en masse and have started to, in my mind, it's glorifying terrorism, euphemisms for eradicating the state of Israel and the Jewish people, supporting Hamas, and those in good faith who are calling for a ceasefire. Unfortunately, they don't understand the implementation of that, because if you're saying Palestine from the river to the sea while calling for a ceasefire, you're ultimately saying that Hamas should have a victory. They just need to have a reality check. There's a lot of misinformation going on. Social media contributes to this, and the hate speech and the rhetoric and the posts that we're seeing, they escalate into violent acts. For example, 4 days after the projection incident on the GW library, where SJP students projected inflammatory slogans such as "From the river to the sea," "Glory to our martyrs," "GW, you have Palestinian blood on your hands." 4 days after that, there was a pro-Palestinian demonstration, and demonstrators came to the ZBT frat house, which is a Jewish frat, and they started waving flagpoles at the brothers so as to strike them, and getting very close to the house. So this is something that could have ended very violently and caused a lot of harm to students if there was no security. And we're seeing in LA, a man was killed in a protest. So it scares a lot of students. And, my mom is telling me not to leave the house with a Star of David. This is something that I've never heard in my life. I've been raised in an Israeli and American home to be proud of who I am, and Jewish and proud always, never to relinquish my identity for anything, to always show it. But at this point, when such heinous acts are occurring around the world, it's, to take precaution is the most important, and to keep speaking up, you do need to take precaution. And a lot of students are kind of trying to weigh this balance of do I speak up? Do I hide? How do I keep myself safe? And how do I still fight for my people and my community? So it's been difficult, but I think the most important thing to remember is that we have the community here to support each other.
Do you feel that the GW administration should be doing more, or how do you feel that they have handled the situation so far?
I'll tell the story of what happened because I think it's very telling. On October 9th, there was a statement put out that was not satisfactory to Jewish students at all. So we got together, a group of 10, 15 of us, and we met with her on the 10th. And she and another dean were very understanding. They listened to us. For about 2 hours, they met with us. So it really shows the time that they took. And on October 11th, they put out another statement, not only condemning Hamas and all the groups on campus who were celebrating terror, but actually took responsibility for the old statement and said, you know, this was not enough. And here's the statement that I'm going to put out. And that really made me proud and even feel safer as a Jewish student on campus. So I was very happy with that. There's been other statements put out. They've been reaching out to me and to other students, meeting with them frequently. They've been trying to learn about the situation. So the support is there on their part. But I think that what we're seeing now with things getting aggressive, more inflammatory, more violent, there needs to be actions taken against these students. Our Hillel building, for example, last Shabbat, a student broke in and took down our hostage posters from the inside. So this is what we're seeing. And like, imagine if that was the home of a Jewish student. So this is the threat that we face. And this is something that there should be no tolerance for whatsoever.
If there was something that you could say to those Palestinian or students protesting in support of Palestine, what would you say to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I would say that I am grieving the lives now that are being lost in Gaza. This is something that I would have never wanted to happen, and I feel for the people, and I always have. I know the Palestinian people suffer tremendously under their own leaders. Hamas has terrorized their people just as they have Israelis. Of course, different intentions, different, but they're anti-humanity. This Hamas is a group that's just anti-humanity. It's not a political issue at this point. And I want to put the message out there that I want peace and that I'm for this. I believe that there can be peace if we focus on human relationships. But the way that they're protesting is, first of all, in a way that's it's bringing out so much hate. It's so inflammatory, and it's doing everything that's just the opposite of bringing peace in our communities when we don't have that back home. And I think that calling for free Palestine from the river to the sea, putting anti-Semitic blood libels like GW, you have Palestinian blood on your hands, glory to our martyrs, which I understand that in Islam, a martyr is somebody who dies in war or natural disaster. This is made clear to me by a few Palestinian friends that I have. But to say glory to our martyrs without saying we condemn Hamas's actions, which they have refused to do, the SJP groups, then it really shows that you don't see me as a human being. Because even at American University, I have friends who sent me a video of students saying they were ripping down posters of the Israeli hostages, and they asked, why are you tearing it down? And they said, Israelis aren't human beings. So if this is how you see me, I don't see how there can be peace. And in order for there to be peace one day, for everybody to live and coexist in the region and around the world, clearly what we're seeing now is that we're really struggling to coexist, these two polarized camps. We need to see each other as humans.